There's something that Julius Malema once said. He said that anywhere you see a black person, anywhere you walk across them, just greet them. Say hi, brother. If you meet them in UK, say hi. You meet them in anywhere you meet them, you know, just say hi to the brother or the sister, you know. And for sisters, when someone says hi, it doesn't mean that they want you. No. Some of you have that weird mindset. When someone says hi, just reply hi. That's all. That's okay. You never know what someone is going through, especially for black people. You see, the only place that I know, that I'm conscious of, and I'm very confident that accepts black people for who they are, and we don't see stories, we don't see stereotypes, is Africa. Africa is the place that accepts black people for who they are. We don't see a black American. We see a brother, a sister, a dad, a mom, a baby walking the streets. Yes, that is what we see, you know. We've gone through colonialism, we've gone through slavery, we've gone through a lot of rejection, Jim Crow laws, segregation. We've gone through the redlining, you know, police brutality, racism, name it all, just name it all. The black person has gone through that. But despite all these attempts, because these are always attempts to wipe out the black people, it has not happened so. The black person cannot be wiped off the face of the earth. You can't do that. It is only the Most High God who has the capability of doing such a thing. But He is such a loving and caring God. He made us in His own image and likeness. Yeah, He did that. He really did that. And now here today, I'm here to tell you that despite the struggles that we are going through, we always prevail. There is a powerful discussion that white people, black people, Latinas, people in America in short, are discussing about black people. It's very encouraging that you listen to this. I want you to get an understanding. I shall get back by the end of the video, of course, where we shall also have a deep, critical analysis.
African American community is the only community that has the power in this country to change anything. They are the only ones that are going to save the Latinos. And I clap for the African American.
Bravo, bravo. That's what they look at black people as, the help. Not as allyship, just disposable help. Someone that they could put in front of them as a shield. And that's why a lot of these white Cubans left Cuba. It's not necessarily because of politics or ideology. It's because of racial equality. Before the Cuban Revolution, they used to discriminate against black Cubans. It was legal. Black Cubans didn't have access to healthcare or education, and they lived in poorer conditions where they served the white Cubans. After the Cuban Revolution, all that changed. They start promoting racial equality. Black Cubans start having access to healthcare, access to education. And a lot of white Cubans, that made them feel uncomfortable. They were used to the old Cuba, where they had an upper advantage on the black Cubans. They're not going to bring this information up freely. That's why when she says save us, servitude, you're nothing but the help, disposable help. Make my white Cuban life a little bit easier and comfortable since our white savior, Trump, is deporting us.
The animals were treated much better.
I am trying to get real with myself and with other white people, and it is painful work. There's a whole lot of blame toward black people for being the cause of how white people treat them, and I'm trying to get to the bottom of that. I decided to take a closer look at slavery, since that's such a big topic in the United States. There has been slavery all over the world forever, and all colors of people have enslaved other colors of people for as long as we know about. But the transatlantic slave trade, in which Europeans brought African and Caribbean black people to the United States to be free labor in the new colonies before they were really the United States, is a whole different story of slavery. Slavery historically had to do with who won and who lost a war, who was convenient, who stumbled by at the wrong time, and so it wasn't specifically race-based. So why did these white Europeans choose black people to enslave? Because their physical differences from whites made it easier to create lies that they were biologically inferior. They invented science to defend this. It was easier to make these people who looked so different from us less human. And that lie made it easier to justify torture, rape, family separation, and death on a massive scale. And it made them, quite frankly, easier to identify if they tried to escape. The legacy didn't disappear when slavery ended. Eugenics came along and fed the racial superiority notion of whiteness, and it influenced the Nazi narrative along with the racial one. It carried over into segregation, Jim Crow, housing, policing, incarceration, education, all of that. If we're ever going to fix what's broken, we need to get curious enough to name how it got broken in the first place. White people need to get curious so we can say no more, not on my watch.
Why do white people, and yes, I mean white people, have to make situations unfucking comfortable for everyone else? And while this conversation does not pertain to every single white individual, just hear me out. I don't know about other minorities, but personally for me, when I walk into events with almost exclusively white individuals, I always just kind of like hold my breath, because I anticipate, which it doesn't always happen, but I do anticipate that there will be someone who does something that's a bit ostracizing for me. They, point me out, and then I feel like an other. And so I hope this conversation really leads to open dialogue about what's really going on here, or why it's not okay, because it's not okay. But basically, I went to a unifying event, and the first instance was I had an individual, and we were all in a group setting, and we were all talking about how many children we wanted. And as people are going around the circle, I'm just like, oh, that's great for you, not for me. I personally do not want kids, but I love that for you. And the thing is, both ideas are okay. They're okay. However, the individual next to me turns over and goes, just because your people don't allow having more than one child, that doesn't mean you have to look down at the rest of us. And everyone was just kind of taken aback by that statement. And we were like, and especially me, I have no idea where this level of aggression came from. It was kind of spoken in a more aggressive tone and with a disapproving face, if I may describe. And so I'm over here like, and so I look over at my friend who was directly behind them, someone that individual actually cares about in terms of their opinion. And they go, why would you say that? And they then turn around and say, hey, I'm sorry if that offended you. Are you sorry about what you said and how it's actually not okay to say things like that, and you should really consider your choices moving forward? Or are you just sorry that it offended me and that I'm the one that was offended from that? Because either way, it doesn't make it okay. Anyways, I try to move past that, and then later on when I encounter two gentlemen that I had to bring news to, before I even said something when I came to their table, the first one says an entire lengthy statement in Chinese. For reference, I'm Korean. And so I just stand there and I nod my head, just listening. And as soon as they finish, I say, so I am not Chinese, but how very cool that you know how to say something like that. And I try to move forward with my statement, and they interrupt and they go, well, then what are you? What am I? Like an animal, And I say, my nationality is Korean. And then I get cut off again. And then the second gentleman goes, 안녕하세요. I understood that. It is very, very poorly stated, but it is hello in Korean. And I say, oh, well, hello to you too. Very interesting how you know that. Cut me off before I can move on again. And they state, yes, because I served in the Korean War over there, and I saved your people. Just like that. My people. I don't know what to say in that fucking situation. Thank you so fucking much. I'm in America now. Oh my God. Dude, I was born here. And so a spark of defensiveness came out of me, and I just immediately state, oh, I was actually born here. I just visit every now and then. And Several other statements were said after that, but I don't really want to go into it. And then I come back home and I tell my friend, my closest friend, who is also white, and as I'm telling them about the statements the gentlemen have made, they laugh. They laugh. And I deadpan them and I'm like, why are you laughing? And they go, well, it's not that what they did was funny. It's just I'm not surprised that someone like that. I have a good understanding of who this kind of person is and why they would say something like that. You have a good understanding of what kind of people they are, and you think that that's acceptable or that's funny in some way, or it's just, I find that minorities look at situations like this and we think we need to step up and take action to point out how this behavior is not okay. Just like how with any behavior, with children, if they do something wrong, we point it out and we say it's not okay. But white individuals, having grown up in environments where it's not so bad to the point that a parent points it out and say no, that they just grow up and they just roll their eyes and they're like, oh, that's just Bob being Bob. Like the idea of boys will be boys. But I look at the situation and I'm just like, no gender, no race, no age should ever be allowed to say condescending or ignorant comments that make other people feel like they are an outsider. That behavior in general is not okay. And if we wouldn't allow our children to participate in that behavior, right? Whether it's pertaining to race or anything else, why would we allow ourselves is the real question. And I hate this next argument of, oh, why do you have to make everything about race? It's not always about race. Well, that's the thing. I didn't make it about race. They did. I felt like I was a part of a unified collective event until I was pointed out as another, as an outsider. We could have had a conversation about everything else, how beautiful the venue was, how wonderfully the event was going, all the people that we know, common interests, but instead they had to point out my race and how my race defines me.
So this lady asks, this black lady, are white women really that scared of black women? And I'm going to say yes. And this is my opinion as a white woman who is 53 years old and has lived in the South in Georgia my entire life. But it's not being scared, but it's a fear. And it's not a physical fear. It is the mental fear. It is what we see in you and what we see you doing and how it challenges us and the fear of that. So we see black women and we see how strong you are. We see you coming together as a community. We see you supporting each other. We see you supporting your community, supporting your families, supporting your children, going out and fighting for your rights, being authentic in your race and in your femininity. Anyway. And we're jealous. I think we're jealous because we would love to be that, I think, and we don't know how to break out of the indoctrination that we have been suppressed by our entire lives. And I'm not giving white women a pass, don't get me wrong, but I know I, and most women have been told, white women have been told our entire lives, be quiet, know your place, be a good girl, don't rock the boat, don't be too much. And when you are any of those things, you are ostracized because you have rocked their boat. And that is what black women are. You rock our boat, our mental boat, because you challenge us to look at how we are deficient and not living in our truth, and it makes us uncomfortable. And people don't like to be uncomfortable, and it makes us start to question ourselves, and people don't like to question themselves. We would rather live in our little bubble of white supremacy and what we know and comfortableness, I know that's not a word, than a lot of people would, white women would, rather than challenge themselves to grow and know more, because it's easy. Doing the work is hard. It's really hard. I've been doing the work the past several years, and it's hard. It's hard admitting some truths about yourself and some truths about yourself as a white woman. So yeah, I think that white women are scared of black women because you challenge us in that way, and a lot of us don't like it. and that's why we fear you. It's because we fear what you...
Most racist people that I've ever been around are the kindest to animals. They will sit there and dote on their dogs and just like really make sure they have the most pampered, amazing life possible, while at the same time defending police violence, using racist dog whistles, or even criticizing movements that promote social equality. You would think that compassion for humans and animals go hand in hand, but for many people it does not. Because ultimately they see their pets as an extension of themselves, whereas with other people who are members of minority groups, they see them as this distinct and separate entity. That's why you'll also see white people have a lot more sympathy for the white South African immigrants that came here. Their empathy only goes as far as themselves or their families, so that includes their dogs, that includes people with the same skin color as them. But the second they are asked to empathize beyond that, that's when it stops, because their hatred has consumed them, which has led to a historic pattern of white people treating their animals better than human beings, even when they owned human beings and animals.
You know, after listening to all this, I'm reminded by the brothers and the sisters who've just spoken of how special we are, you know. Black people, we are black for a reason. And black is a good color. We are black for a reason, and they are those colors for a reason. We have the physical reasons, like protection from the UV light. We have the spiritual reasons as well, you know. We have the melanin reasons. You see, melanin is not just melanin. It's not just a chemical compound, you know. This color is the color of dirt. Black is the color of the soil. And when God was creating man, he created man from the color of clay. Clay is black, right? Clay is black. So the original man who was first molded, not born, but molded, was made from the soil. The color of the soil is black, you know, black or brown. That's the color of the soil. So I believe you can now see a certain figure. You can see a certain image, you know. When we die, this body, which is made of soil, goes back to the soil and it becomes one. It decomposes, it wears off, but the spirit is what remains. The spirit is not a black spirit or a white spirit or a Chinese, no, the spirit is just a spirit. There's no racism in the spiritual world. Racism only exists in this physical world, you know. And also, if you look at the contributions that the black people have made in the world, it tells you how important we are. You know, the Egyptian pyramids, people who are scientists have told us that it took, or rather it, let me use the past tense, it took a huge amount of understanding, a huge level of thinking to construct those pyramids. Because during those times, the technology that we have today that would have simplified the construction wasn't there. It tells us that the African technology and the African mind of those times was very, very high. Was very high and uncomparable. Because those pyramids are perfectly placed and they connect, or rather they are in a particular pattern with cosmology, you know, with the stars, there's a name, with the constellations, you know. There's a connection to them. And tell me who had that understanding of cosmology, of astronomy and cosmology. Who had that understanding during those times to build those pyramids, right? And they are still standing up to date, you know. Again, another thing is Africans were the first to enslave the white people. the Europeans who enslaved us, we were the first ones to enslave them. What do I mean? Now, if you look at Morocco, Morocco was in Africa before the Arabian. Morocco is still in Africa, but it wasn't Arabized as it is today. Now, before the conquest of Morocco by the Arabs from the Middle East, it used to be having a community called the Moors. These Moors were very, very strong and capable people. They would go to Spain, Portugal, and some places in Canary Islands and enslave those Spaniard people and the Portuguese. They would enslave them and make them work for them, right? So the Moors were the first people to cross the seas and go to the other side. History has it right, and there is scientific evidence to support that, right? Again, the black person, despite what we are today, we had a man by the name Mansa Musa. Mansa Musa was from a country in West Africa, you see, a neighbor to Niger and Burkina Faso. This country is Mali. So Mansa Musa of Mali was an Islam person, and it is said that he is the richest man who ever lived. He was rich to the extent that stories have it, as he was going for his pilgrimage to Mecca in Saudi Arabia, he would be throwing gold coins on the road. He would be throwing them away and giving off charity as he was traveling. And he had so many possessions with him. That's Mansa Musa of Mali, a black person, right? There are so many things black people have done, you know. America would not be America if not for the black people. America would not be America if Africans were absent, right? So no matter the struggles that we go through, God has a positive. God has a good plan for us. He has a good plan. And I know he has a good plan for black people. Yes, that is what I believe. You may want to share with me your thoughts. I would really, really love to listen to your ideas and thoughts. This is EFK Original Documentaries. If you like my content, subscribe, support me on Patreon. Your donations go a long way, and it helps me help you and help other people as well. Yes. Thanks for watching, and see you in the next one.